morning everyone, it's Carol here at Aakash Journals, and as always a very big warm welcome from me. Lovely to have you with me. Today I'm going to show you how I alter an existing fabric cover. Now this is the notebook that has the fabric cover, and it is a removable cover. As you can see, it's just a blank notebook inside with a hard cover, and there's a pocket at the back and the front that the hard cover of the notebook just slots into. So this is an absolute gorgeous little notebook cover. I absolutely love it. Covered over with lots of beautiful laces and vintage fabrics, and very delicate. There's mother of pearl buttons and little pearls on it as well. What I'm showing you here are some strips of ripped silk. Now, not quite silk ribbon, I think it's silk fabric, and those strips are overstitched with quite some heavy stitching, which I'm not that keen on, and I'm showing you there down the side that there is a strip there that's trapped into the actual seam of that back pocket, and there's another one on the front there. So I will be altering this. So I've taken the cover off the blank notebook, and this is the book, as you can see, so that will get used, and this is what the cover looks like now. And as you can see, it's quite beautiful. Can't resist showing you again the lovely lace on here. So that's the outside of the fabric cover, and this is the inside. And if I pull these portions back, you can see the hand stitching that's gone on. This is the reverse of the hand stitching. So these pieces were obviously what held the hardback notebook cover to the soft fabric cover. What I think I'm going to have to do is take this off and stitch on a full piece of my French bed linen. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't want this gap here, and also because on its own I'm not going to have enough rigidity in the cover. Now, I don't want a lot because it is a fabric cover. It's going to be a soft cover, but I would like a bit more than I've currently got. And to achieve that, I'm going to use some iron-on interfacing as well. So my first job is to look out some nice lace that I can use on the cover here, on the outside of the cover. And as I say, unpick these two pockets and rip a portion of the bed linen that is going to fit on here. So I've ripped myself off a very generous portion for doing the inside cover. So that's all ready to go. I'm going to cut myself a piece of iron-on interfacing as well. So here's my piece of iron-on interfacing, and again, a generous amount. I'll trim all these two pieces down when I know what size I need. But as you can see, this is quite a heavy duty one. It's quite a stiff one. So I'm hoping that once it's ironed onto this fabric here, that it'll give me some nice rigidity, and especially if I decide to leave this in place. The only reason I'm hesitating at the moment, if I put these two together like that, just wondering if I'm going to see it through here, and actually I don't, so I will probably leave that in place as well, but we'll see. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to give this piece of bed sheet, vintage bed sheet, a good old press, and then I'll be back. This cover, if I hold it up to the camera, I think you can probably see, has been stitched on a machine with dark brown thread, and the corners haven't been done particularly well. They're rounded off, and I think I would like mine squarer than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this cover inside out, like so. Let me quickly do the other side. But if I pull that out like that. So what I thought I would do is unpick this machine stitching that's gone all the way around here, and I'm going to redo it, but in off-white so that I don't get that dark brown showing through, and that gives me the opportunity then to go in with my fabric, put that on top and get that all in place. I've deconstructed the cover, and at the moment it's just pinned because I wasn't quite sure what was going to be stitched down in terms of the layers on here and what wasn't. And actually some of it is stitched down, and as you can see here, and these strips and obviously the beading, but there is very little else that is actually physically stitched down. There's a couple of lines of machine stitching. So as a belt and braces, I've just pinned around the edges to hold this all together, and these were the pockets that were on either side. Obviously when I turned the cover inside out, they came to the front, so these were on, I think it was something, I can't remember which way around they went, but it doesn't matter. These were the pockets that were on the front. So I've got those off to one side. And these two pieces off here, these were the edging strips that I could see down, certainly down one side, and this one was pretty much tucked away under the seam so you couldn't see it. But either way, they're pieces, lovely pieces of fraying silk that were there, but the colour was wrong for what I had in mind. There is also a little piece of lace here which is stitched down that edge for some reason, maybe as an extra support. That's not really of any use to me, so I will be unpicking that in a moment or two and pinning this left hand side the same as the right hand side. Then I will go all the way round with a basting stitch, take the pins out, and I will trim this so that it's nice and square and get rid of those rounded off corners. So that's what I'm planning to do. I've lifted out some lace here. This is some vintage lace. As you can see, I've got a little portion there, and I've got a couple of pieces here. So that's one piece, if I hold that up to the camera, and this is another piece exactly the same. And what I thought I would do with these pieces is, instead of taking off these strips of silk here, I'm going to cover them up, but I'm going to undo this fly stitching that's been done on all of them because it's a little bit too heavy, and I'm going to leave the silk strips underneath, but I'm going to use a tiny portion of this to go over the top. I will be cutting this edge away, and I'm using this edge down here, and I'm going to use it to just go over the top to soften the colour, but it will also mean that some of the colour comes through, so I'm not losing it all together, and that will, I hope, still leave me with some interest on here. So as I say, I've got those two pieces that I can use, so I've got plenty. And on this one, I actually quite like this strip along here. Now it's actually a join in this piece of vintage lace because you can lift up those scallops. So what I thought I would do with this piece, and I'm all snared up there, what I thought I would do with this strip here, and this is all I've got of this, is put it over the top of, not this one rather, sorry, this one here, when I've taken that stitching out, and just have it going over the top so that everything doesn't look exactly the same. Now I absolutely love this scalloped edge here, but I'm not sure that it is going to sit all right when I trim away this netting from it. So I'm pretty certain that this strip will work, not so sure about that strip. So I've got some bits to play with, and what I'm going to go away and do now, as I said, is take out this stitching, and if it's not secured down and tacked down, then I will put some invisible stitching down it to hold it in place before I put my lace on it, and obviously do that basting stitch all the way around the outside and then trim this square. This is what my cover looks like now. As you can see, I've basted it in red all the way round, and I've trimmed the edges so that this is nice and square. So before I do anything else, I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and I'm going to do a single line of machine stitching all the way round the outside edge, as close as I can get to the edge. And also what I'm going to do is these pieces of lace here that I've pinned down onto the cover, I'm going to hand stitch those in place. This is what my cover looks like now, and I'm really pleased how it looks. I've covered over those pieces of silk and that rather heavy fly stitching with these decorative pieces of lace, and I've still got the pop of colour coming through, but it's blending a lot better, I think. And yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I like how it looks. I've left a little bit of that stitching there, and I'm not sure whether I will leave it there or I will take it out, but for the time being I have left it there. As I mentioned I would, I've done a line of machine stitching all the way around the edge just to make sure everything is held nicely together. And if I flip it over, it's changed on the back as well. Before it was just the messy stitching on the reverse. Now I've got a piece of fairly heavy duty interfacing on the back, and I've ironed this on to give a little bit more rigidity to my cover. So that's what it's looking like now. So what I'm going to do as my next stage is I've got this piece of lovely French linen, and I'm going to stitch this all the way around on the front. I will leave a little gap at the bottom here so that I can turn it the right way round and have this on the inside of my cover. So once this is stitched and turned, it will be on the back, something like that. I will put some double-sided Bonder web before I actually stitch it on, and that way when I have stitched it on and I've turned and trimmed everything and I'm ready to stitch up this bottom bit, then I can flip it over, put an iron over that, and it will make it stick to the interfacing on the reverse of the cover. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will come back to show you what the finished cover looks like. This is what my finished cover looks like now. So obviously that's the top, and that's what it looks like inside. And all I've done is machined all the way around, as I said I would on my machine, turned it inside out. I left a couple of inches down here, that much, and then just turned those edges in with my needle and just did a little invisible stitch across the bottom there to hide it. I didn't put any Bonder web in here after all. I decided against it because I was liking how this inside fabric was sitting. So it's all ready to go. I haven't quite got the neat crisp corners that I wanted, but I'm more than happy with how this little journal is looking. And if I fold it in half, that is what she looks like folded. All I need to do now is put a fabric signature inside here and stitch through the cover to the outside edge here. Now if I didn't like my stitches showing on the outside here, then I could put another little piece of lace over the spine and cover that stitching up. But as I don't know what I'm going to be putting in here for the moment, I'm just going to pop this in a bag to protect it, and then when I'm ready to make another fabric journal, I've got my cover all ready to go. So thank you as always for watching, everybody, and I will put some photographs at the end so that you can have a closer look at all the yumminess on this cover.